All right, so today I have the pleasure of talking to Ponda Baba from GIMP. Um, Played with him several times as a great sport, and really wanted to kind of talk to him today, get his origins and his kind of philosophy towards Star Wars. So Ponda, thank you so much for being here.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, thank you,
Um,
sir. So I
so I
guess
never.
go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was just gonna say I never actually played the game in person, only online.
Only
So
only
I was kind of
online.
self-taught in that regard. Yes.
Okay, so you were self-taught. So what? So you started in what 2020 or 2021, or when do you actually first start with Star Wars
Yeah.
CCG?
So I want to say 2020
Okay,
because I was working from home at that time and had a lot of free time. And I started actually with the Lord of the Rings game, which I used to play in person back when it was active. And so then I started playing that on GAMP, and then I discovered there was one for Star Wars, so I decided to try it out.
nice. Okay. I did. Yeah, I mean, I started with Star Wars CCG. Well, I guess I started with Magic, then I went to Star Wars CCG, and then yes, Lord of the Rings TCG or whatever it was called was a thing. I did play that for a little bit. Um, and you start with that in real life? Do you start at the beginning with Lord of the Rings, or you start in the middle, or how did that start for you?
I came in during the Two Towers block, so that would have been 2003. And then I played with my local group probably up until about 2006. And by that time, the game was kind of dying down, and so it just kind of faded away. But then I discovered it online many years later and got back into it.
Okay. And I guess so. You tried out Star Wars CCG after trying Lord of the Rings, and I guess how would you rate? Would you say that you still like Lord of the Rings more than Star Wars CCG, or you like Star Wars CCG more, or how would you kind of compare them as far as what you prefer?
Um, well, I would say I'm a lot better at Lord of the Rings. I
Okay.
actually win matches over there, so that's something. Um,
Yeah.
I think they both have their pluses and negatives. I would say Star Wars is definitely a much deeper and more um, comprehensive game. There are
Okay.
so many different intricacies and different aspects that you can focus on, whereas Lord of the Rings is a little bit more singular in its focus. Um, Although I would say that I prefer the character balance in Lord of the Rings more, since I do find that it tends to be in Star Wars tends to be very heavily favoring mains over all of the other characters. Which, as someone who tries to play with the other characters, I have a lot of experience with.
I do respect that, in the decks, that you have, that you do try to use like a lot of like, cards that people don't as commonly use. And I would say even when you use mains, you still try to like have more variety in what you do, and you try to, I guess you try to get like a use out of this, because I think what I saw like using the low bell alien, the dark side alien, right, like -2 forfeit for pilots. And
Yeah,
no, I really appreciate that kind of that about you and that your style. And I
thank
tend
you.
to be that way to some degree, just because I think, I guess I try to be myself personally. I try to be a little bit what's a counterculture a little bit. I don't know the right way to say it.
Mm.
And that's one thing I liked about your decks, is that you try to be unique and different, and use mechanics differently. And I'm guessing that's on purpose, because that you prefer playing kind of this way versus the standard like mains and toys, generally speaking.
Right. So, to me, it's not particularly interesting to play the same basic deck that I've played against many times. To me, it's more interesting to try something new and see if I can get it to work.
I agree with that. No, I like that aspect a lot. And so I guess I see like a few formats. So when you started, did you start like Premier New Hope, or did you, like, I see you play a lot of PDS2. Sometimes I see you play a little
Mhm.
bit of like Decipher cards only. Can you kind of like talk through kind
Mhm.
of like how you kind of like self-taught Star Wars CCG, and kind of where you are as far as, what you choose to play. I don't see you play like a lot of open, for instance. So I'd be curious to kind of
Right.
your words there.
Yeah. So I actually had a little familiarity with the game for a long time beforehand because at my local comic book store, I had just randomly bought a book of errata from the CCG cards. I don't know why I bought it. I guess it was on sale. And
Okay.
so then I would just look through that at the various card descriptions. And so I still didn't really know how to play, but I became kind of familiar with a lot of the P to DS2 block cards. Then when I got to GEMP, I didn't really know the difference between the blocks. I think I started with Premier to Death Star 2 because that's what I saw a lot of people playing.
Hmm.
I did a little bit of just Premier and Premier A New Hope, but I don't know. I didn't really find that one as engaging as the Premier to DS2. And I have tried a little bit with Open, but there's still so many cards that I'm not really very familiar with there. So I think that's going to take a while for me to feel like I have an understanding of that environment more.
Okay. No, I mean, I guess I was curious because I would say open is a kind of even more mains focused, right? I mean, they've gone
Mm.
through the Reflections 3 Screaming Lando cards and maintenance cards, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to play. I mean, it's hard to play, random aliens and have a chance. It's even harder in open than it would be in PDS2. I guess is what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of what I figured, but eventually I'll get around to just observing open games and kind of get a feel for what it's like.
Okay. Cool. So are you still playing Lord of the Rings concurrently with Star Wars, or you kind of like stopped playing that, or how do you?
Oh no, I actually just finished a game right before this call.
Okay, awesome,
Yeah.
cool. Well, I guess if you're ready, maybe we could kind of go into kind of some of your decks, and maybe that would kind of lead into kind of like design philosophy. If you're ready to go there.
Sure. All right, I can go ahead and share.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is going to be one of my dark side decks.
Okay.
Okay, tell me if it's visible on your end.
I see a little fuzziness. Yeah, I do see the main game hall page. Yep, I see that. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Oop, that's not the one I meant to share.
Yeah, you shared the. Okay,
Yeah,
robot house.
okay. Yep.
Okay.
So, yeah, I like to name all of my decks references that I get, and other people may or may not, but that's fine. So this is one that I focused on EV99, one of my favorite droid characters, and I actually really like the droids in this format. I think that besides R2, pretty much all of them go underutilized in PDS2 format. But I think they have a lot of interesting cards that you can really pull unexpected strategies with. So this one is based around EV99 being able to drain at the workshop at Jabba's palace.
And when
And
you're talking, do you mind doing a mouse over so people can see EV99 and see Java's
yeah,
Palace? That way they know what you're saying. Thank
oh
you.
yeah, yeah. Mhm. So
Yep, there he is. Yep, there he is.
EV99.
Yep,
Okay,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah, bigger four strains at Droid Workshop. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
yep. So this one is the basis of the deck. It starts with Tatooine Jabba's palace. Originally, I think I built this deck using the court objective, but this one is an easier way to get the workshop on table immediately. So I decided to switch to that. And the premise is pretty straightforward. Just get EV99 in the workshop, play a bunch of cheap droids. I like to have gonks in there. Some of these other really cheap astromechs can go in there too. And then they can just drain for a lot and not have to worry about battling. And beyond that, I always include Jabba at the audience chamber and some other aliens in there. So that part's kind of probably pretty standard court strategy. But the main focus is on the droids. So I like to include lots of droid tech like Program Trap, which I've found is one that can take out mains easily. So that's something that whenever I'm using droids, I like to put in. Silence is Golden, another good one to stop reacts to their site.
Mm-hmm.
Self-destruct mechanism, you can use that to prevent one of your non-droid characters from getting their forfeit reduced from a weapon. So these are all kinds of things that I like to incorporate as kind of a safeguard against the EPP characters that usually my aliens don't do so well against. Brief loss of control, another one I like to use with droids. Also really good with battle droids if you're doing the episode 1 formats. And yeah, of course, forced servitude when I do light side faithful service, and that can really help cut down on the big drains from Hoth decks and that kind of thing. So I found that this deck is pretty good against most land-based strategies. It is kind of weak in the space environment. That's probably, I haven't played with this deck in a while. I should probably revise it to add some more ships in there. But I found that the biggest, by far, detriment to this deck is Jedi tests. Because the first one they get is always cancel force drains, and then that just makes EV99 useless. So anytime I'm up against Dagobah, then it's like, oh, well, this deck's probably not going to get anywhere. But it's still fun to get going.
That's true. I think I had a version of a deck like this, and I think I had like one failure at the cave. Just
Mm,
because in Dagobah Cave, just to give me something to do. Because you're right, absolutely.
yeah,
EV99, you need your force trade bonuses or you're screwed. Yeah.
yeah. And I do like to include Broken Concentration in most of my Tatooine decks just to kind of offset that. So I should probably put it in this one too.
Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
it's
kind of emblematic of my style. Find something not really being done and then see if I can develop the rest of it around that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And so and maybe we go why three power droids, right? So it's like is your goal is like okay, you have two EV99s, okay, that's like the core of the deck, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have a way to get
Right.
in because you start Jabba's palace, right? But
Mm-hmm.
like you have an assortment of droids, why'd you choose some of these versus other ones, right? Like the Astromechs,
Yeah.
and Septoid droid. Like
Right.
there's other droids you didn't include, why these
Mm-hmm.
ones?
So for this deck, I mainly picked ones that are pretty cheap to deploy because, well, mainly I didn't want to spend a lot of force on them when I have aliens that I also want to play. So this way I can play the power droids or these vehicle repair guys to the workshop for free. And that's a pretty big um, incentive to include them. Septoid, I like to include because that's one that I wouldn't put in the workshop. I would usually put it with Jabba or whoever else I want to protect, and then just have it absorb the attrition. The reason that I use a bunch of different ones is to avoid getting hit with Grimtosh, and then just if I have 6 power droids in hand, then there they all go. So it's just kind of a way to diversify a little bit. And
Yeah,
and like this guy, medical droid, he's one that I would put with the non-droid characters. So there are a few in here that wouldn't go to the workshop.
okay, and why three of the power droid? Because their destiny is zero, normally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know,
It's a good question. It has been a while since I built this, so I don't really remember. I'm guessing it's because I intend to have a droid with each um, battle location that might occur, and so if he comes up, he would be doubling whatever droid is theirs bonus.
okay, all right.
But mhm.
And so yeah, so you have like interrogation array, like you're trying to get a captive here, and you're just, but
Yeah, right. So I do include a few bounty hunters in here. I include the array for the draining. And yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I guess I'd say
I
I
probably
don't
should have
really
been.
see a way for you to get a captive here, though. That'd be the one thing I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, looking at this one, I just realized I think I took All Wrapped Up out from a previous version that had that in there.
I think
And that can happen when
yeah.
I keep retooling my decks. Then sometimes I forget something that I had in there and took out. So yeah, this one will definitely need to be revised before I play it again.
Yeah, I think so. And as far as aliens, I mean, obviously, okay, like some of these musicians, I think like Klaatu, like the two right from the job, I don't think he's a musician. If you click him, so is there a reason
This
or
guy?
yeah,
Oh, yeah. He is in there mainly just for the power bonus when defending the battle. So he's just someone that I would sit either at Jabba's palace or at the audience chamber. And when a battle happens, he would be one of the guys I forfeit, but he would help provide some power bonus while he's there.
okay,
This guy I usually include because he's usually plus 4 or 5 power, and he's a musician.
that is true. That is true.
Mhm.
And I mean, are you choosing just because he's traditionally underused as well? You know, obviously, I mean, he does have some tech. His tech is not used. We don't see many people grab him. Obviously, he's a little defensive.
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of these guys, I do try to utilize pretty much all of the different characters in one deck or another. So this is one where I'm using some guys who don't normally get a lot of play because the focus isn't really on ability or game text so much. The idea is more that the droids will absorb the damage. I'll use things like brief loss of control or stunning leader to remove more powerful characters and then hope my guys win on power.
Okay.
So it's kind of a half-baked strategy, but something that I'm tinkering with still.
No, I think it's cool that you do. I think it's cool, and it's nice,
Mm-hmm.
seeing you use decks and you try to use it on the
Mm-hmm.
thing. So okay, so in this deck you have Mara Jade, you have Mara Jade with Saber, you have IG-88, in the ship, but and
Mm-hmm.
you have Zuckuss not in the ship, right? So why do you
Mm-hmm.
hate Zuckuss and ship so much, right? We should go into that.
Okay. Yeah. So I should preface by saying Zuckuss is actually my favorite bounty hunter in Star Wars. I
Ah,
always thought he looked really cool. But I do not like the Zuckuss in ship card, mainly because of the text that takes away, well, effectively takes away battle destinies. Uh, to me, it just feels a little bit of a negative play experience when, unless I have 7 ability at the system, then I don't get any battle destiny. To me, that just feels a little too much. So I don't like playing against it, and I don't like playing it myself. And there are a few other cards that I think go a little bit over the top that I don't use for similar reasons.
okay. Well, I didn't know you like Zuckuss, lore wise. That's cool.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, yes, Zuckuss in many ways is a one card combo. I mean, you he
Mhm.
he changes the meta, right? You have to design your light side with Zuckuss in mind, right? If you naively
Yeah.
put cards there, obviously it's different playing with Zuckuss versus not. There's no doubt
Mhm.
about it. I agree with you there. Um, and I mean, okay, so there's other cards you don't like to use, right? So you like, are you referring to like the EPPs, for the dark side or light side, or,
Yeah.
or what are you referring to?
Yeah, so generally I don't use, well, I'll use a few of the ships like IG-88 or Bosk and Boba Fett. Those ones I think are okay. The character EPPs with the lightsabers and blasters and stuff, I think those can get a little bit too much, especially because some of them add battle destinies on top of having a built-in weapon. And I think it just, for if you're using any characters who aren't mains, that pretty much just makes it a one-sided battle in 90% of those battles. So for me, I wouldn't really find it to be very satisfying to use them. and I don't particularly enjoy playing against those ones.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I mean, it's true to say that a built-in EPP weapon is very offensive focus, and even if you don't have immunity to attrition, oftentimes it doesn't matter. And when I was a
Mhm.
kid playing, I didn't really understand that, because I was like, oh gosh, there's no immunity to attrition. Why would you play this? But kind of as an adult and playing game more is like, oh, you're just going offense. You're just there to wreck your opponent's stuff. And no,
Yeah.
it makes it changes the game. Obi with stick is probably one of the most efficient cards for attacking people on the light side, and yeah, it's comparatively, why would you use much else? It's hard to. So like you'd be fine
Mhm.
using Obi-Wan the card and Obi-Wan the saber separately, or Darth Vader the card and
Oh
then
yeah.
Darth Vader the saber separately. But just together, you kind of distasteful for you.
Yes. I guess it feels too easy. Like you can just drop this guy in, he can kill whoever's there, and he'll be gone, sure, but then you'll just play him again next turn anyway. So to me, I wouldn't really feel like I'm accomplishing something if my guys came in and won that way.
I understand.
But they are they are the meta, so that's why I've built various decks trying to counter them. Some with success, some not so much.
No, I appreciate tinkering. Okay, so how do you know? Like, I don't see PDS2. I don't see Decipher cards only. You just name things.
Mhm.
How do you
Yeah,
know what like what format these go to? I guess you don't. You just have to memorize your name.
yeah. Well, so if it's Decipher format, I put Decipher first.
Okay. All right.
And so I have a bunch of those in here.
Okay.
Pretty much my thought process is my default is PDS2. So if I don't put anything, that's probably what it is.
Okay.
I have a couple of open decks down here. I've only tried a couple, didn't really do much, but I put open with those.
Okay.
And then a couple random other ones. I just put the designation. But if it
Okay.
doesn't have that, that means it's probably PDS2.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I remember what the escape pod decks, or is there another, or is there a light side deck that you think, be like a good example of your style?
Sure. Let's see.
Tale of Two Snivvies.
So,
Wow.
yep. So, um, probably my favorite strategy for light side is putting Tessic at the audience chamber with Boshuda so he can't get battled, and then use non-unique aliens to get drain bonuses. Now, the part that I've always found tricky in this format is starting with the audience chamber, which would mean that I either don't use an objective or start with profit,
Right.
or I could start something else and then hope I draw the chamber. But if your deck is built around Testic, then that's not really going to work so well. So this one uses profit to start, and Kifex is going to be the place where my aliens go. So I put 2 copies in. Some generic sites for the Snivians. Um, put some operatives in here, even though it's not formally an operative deck, but they are Snivians, so they kind of fit the theme I'm going with here, where I put Gizem at the audience chamber, and he makes all of the other Snivians forfeit +2.
Nice.
So there are actually a lot of Snivian characters in this format. You got the generic ones, got Zutton and Warkettle. And obviously, this deck would be a little more tailored to the Jabba's Palace sealed format where you get agents. But this is kind of the format that I would need to do if I'm using it in PDS2.
Nice. Nice. I like it. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, I like how you're keeping to your theme, even if it's partially visually here. Is there a reason why you want the docking bay 94, or you just want the ability to go back to Tatooine kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why not just
So,
yeah.
yeah. So I include that as well in the event that I am able to flip the profit and then have some characters on Tatooine to drain. And if I need to bring some people in or move them out, then I can either send them to Kifex or bring people from Kifex to Tatooine.
Okay. No, that's cool. I like it. And so yeah, you're using like Suns Down, or whatever the
Mm-hmm.
version of that is. So, just
Yeah,
because most
Nightfall.
people don't, or or Nightfall. There we go. Nightfall's the
So
one here. Yeah,
yeah, so Nightfall is another one I like to try in various decks because there are actually a lot of cards that play off of it.
it's true.
In this one, Snivians in particular benefit from it. They get power +2 under nighttime conditions. So if you have Tessic and Nightfall in play, all of these guys would be power 3 for only cost 1, which would be pretty effective, cost effective anyway.
Yeah,
And I put a couple spies in there as well because they would deploy free to um, Nightfall locations.
and
But yeah, I like to use Suns Down for Dark Side too as a way to use like Hoth cards that cause missing characters under nighttime conditions to go missing, things like that.
that's cool. And so you have a couple of insertion planning. So that's a six or a couple of sixes you have. So that's
Yeah.
good.
And Snivians, yeah, Snivians are natural scouts, so that syncs well with them. And then I put a couple of heavier scouts into like Solo and Luke.
That's cool. And you're doing General Calrissian just because he fits with the space theme, or why him versus like
So
another?
he's in here
Because he's a general and he,
because,
he capital support. Okay, all right.
yeah. So yeah, my space strat here is ships with Bar and the other Mon
Okay, yeah.
non effects.
1 second here.
With an Emperor who's just sitting at a random location draining all game.
No, Lost in the Wilderness is a very powerful card. Extremely effective. No, there's no doubt about it. Yes, absolutely. So
Mm.
that's cool. And you have the kind of the skiffs and kind of that's Sorrow Scrub Speeder, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Land speeder,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. For
Yeah.
what reason? Just for movement?
I would put those. Yeah, I would put those at the KIFX sites and make sure to have one next to each of my heavy hitters who are alongside. And that way, if a battle's happening at a location one of them isn't at, they can react over there. So it's a way to try to keep all of the sites defended, even if I don't have someone strong at each site at the time.
I mean, that's cool. I mean, I really like that you're trying to go for the synergies. I mean, there are synergies in your deck. There's some synergies that not
Mhm.
some people use. Okay, so you have the card, I forgot the name, that makes people a scout because that's
Solo
in it.
Mahal.
Yeah, yeah, and how does that help? If they're not a scout,
Well,
or yeah,
so for one thing, it can make a couple people who aren't scouts like Nadine, and
uh-huh.
then they could use cards like insertion planning. But
Yeah,
also for the guys who are seated in the skiff or land speeder, when they react, then they get that power 2 bonus.
okay.
And also, I just like the picture. Sometimes I put cards in just because I like the picture.
Nice. I've tried to use that guy in I think in maybe one of these watch your steps. Just like I think I like tried turning like Luke Jedi Knight into a scout. No, no, not scout. Sorry, smuggler. Sorry, the smuggler card. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
Different one. Different one. Um,
Yeah, there are a few of them. I haven't really tried all of them that give people keywords, but I think they would be another interesting avenue for me to try.
it's cool. And yeah, you're using the trifecta of the three Mon Calamari for home one, so that's great. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you have the Voltezine, the guy in the middle left there, right? He doubles at Kifex. So I appreciate
Yeah,
you trying to keep to the theme of Kifex. That's cool.
thanks. Yeah, and again, this is one that I would consider possibly starting with the gosh, I forgot what it's called, the objective that gives you the system and a site to start, the operative one. But because Tessic is kind of important to it, I decided to make this a profit deck.
I think the main issue, of course, is you don't have order to engage here, and you don't have like Bausch here, right? And so it's hard for you to,
Mm-hmm.
free Han. I guess you have General Solo here,
Yeah,
so um,
yeah.
yeah,
So
you'd have to balance to win. Yeah,
basically,
yeah,
yeah. Well, I've found index where they don't play aliens. I just release him first turn, and I'm not getting the retrieval that way, but that's okay. Then I make sure to pair him with a scout as soon as possible, usually a Snivian, and that way he can cancel the battle destiny and usually stay alive that way.
it's cool. So, all right, yep, and I will notice, of course, there's no EPPs, but you find the synergy there. You do have a couple mains here, so it does fit with profit, but you have like singular copies of each. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have any lightsabers, and you're trying to win not with that. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked like in game a couple times. So you don't like sense and alter either. So I know some games you have like there is no try or things like that, but you won't have sense and alter, and you
Yeah.
prefer people don't use that. So help me understand why that is. It just messes up your synergies and simple directives of it.
Um, it's more that kind of like with EPPs, it feels too much of a blunt instrument. Like it's just okay, whatever you're playing, you can't play it now because I canceled it. It's kind of like the flip of EPPs where it's like whoever you have sitting there, I'm just going to come in and hit them with my lightsaber. So it just feels too general. Like it can work against almost anything. And for me, I don't know. That's kind of not really appealing.
Okay. Yeah, because I see that like you don't like run control, right? So you run like the do or do not, and this
Mm-hmm.
one you don't run the wise advice. I see. Um,
Right.
so
Yeah. So I start with do or do not insurrection to pull the docking bays and so they can't cancel Boshuda.
yeah, yeah. So and what? And you feel the same way about Grimtosh Monarch? You prefer your opponents not to use those, or you're okay with it, or how do you feel about
And
those?
I mean, obviously, I don't like it when I get hit by it, but I don't really mind so much because it's usually not really going to hurt you unless you put yourself in a situation where it's going to hurt you, like drawing up past 13 cards or intentionally stacking your deck with a whole bunch of one particular thing. Which this deck is a little bit vulnerable with 5 Snivians, but uh, I don't know. It's not. I don't think it's that bad since I have Yarna in here too.
Okay. What do you feel about cards like the Signal or Twilight Advisor? Like tutoring cards, cards which get you other cards, kind of thing.
Mhm. Yeah, those are fine. Those all have fairly significant cost associated with them, so that I don't mind as much either. Sense and Alter are free to play, and if you're not using Do or Do Not, they're used on top of that. So that feels, again, like it's making it a little bit too easy to just counter your opponent. But with something like Signal, you at least have to sacrifice 3 of your force to get it to do what it's doing.
Okay. And so, if someone wanted to kind of make a deck with your style or kind of thing, how would you advise them to go about it? Um,
Hmm. So, well, it would depend on their goal because sometimes I want to do a deck that's more drain focused. Sometimes I want to try one that's focused on a particular um, objective, like making a Kessel run or something. But I would say finding something that you want to accomplish and then seeing what cards can be used to accomplish that aren't already being used. So like Kessel Run, that's something that's been done a lot, but nobody uses it with that one particular guy. Let me look him up. Smuggler guy.
there's like Rayek. Regier, like
Rake, yeah, Rake. There you got it. Rake, what's his name?
yeah, that guy.
Rake Rijerd.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a deck with him and put Rykard on him so he gets that +4 while piloting. And he's also immune to Talon Roll, so that's a cool thing too. So I would try seeing, okay, he has a pretty strong power, but he's not pulling a Battle Destiny. So I would probably need to include cards that can give him that, something like Out of Nowhere. So if somebody battles him, he's going to pull out a Destiny. And then maybe give him an Admiral Order, like the one that gives starfighters an attrition immunity. So, but I would start with the basic idea of I want Rake Rijerd to be able to make a Kessel run. And then what would I need to do to allow him to do that? I would need to include something like this and this and this. And then I would think, well, what system should he start from? And then I would look at their distance from Kessel, and then look at the hyperspeeds of starships and figure out which one I think would be the best distance for cost and payoff for the Kessel run. So that's just an example of how I might start building a deck.
Okay.
And then from there, I would think about, okay, if I'm focused on space, then they're going to be on land. So I need to have something in there to counter that. So he's up here in space. Maybe I want to just include a couple of sites that I can heavily fortify with guys like Luke or whoever, and then just keep them as a token prevention from the opponent just dominating land. So yeah, I would try to take into considerations like that, and then try to balance out what I want to do with what I need to do to not just let them run away with the game.
Okay. I like that because I think you made kind of like a couple comments in the game chat like about like low power, like a low power format. Like you love a format or a way to know if someone's like not playing like a high power competitive deck kind of thing. So I guess I'm
Yeah.
wondering if you think like if people don't play Sense Alter, if they don't play EPP mains, if they avoid like most ships like Zuckus, do you think they're like
Mm-hmm.
80% of the way there, or do you think people really need like to focus, like you really need to like like do uncommon cards like you do? Because if I went to like uncommon ones, like I guess you have like Gizem is very unusual. Voltezine, you have Woket, you have Zudden, so you have like at least
Mm-hmm.
6, 7, 8, maybe 10 cards that maybe are not the highest power ones, mixed with the kind of a few mains and kind of more commonly used ones. In this example, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, really, it's just about, well, two factors. One, doing something that I haven't seen done, and two, not using the cards that uh, I feel take away the enjoyable aspect of the game by either being too blunt or too um, applicable in every situation. So as long as they're not using those cards, then I think they're pretty much following this basic ideology that I do.
I guess I'm just just like questioning just a little bit because like if you look like home one, right? Home one, you
Mhm.
have Akbar on it's immune nutrition less than 10. If you're Thin SP, it's you have to have 7 or more. If you have Ashen, it's immune to lateral damage. I mean, do you feel that like the
Mhm.
trifecta of the three fish people and
Mhm.
home one is not in kind of the more powered range, or you think it's too hard to long
I
to
don't have a
assemble, or what?
well, yeah, I don't have a problem with high power per se, but more with how easily some cards can achieve very powerful effects. Home one is very expensive to start with, and if you don't have the guys in hand to play onto it, then it's just a big ship that's probably not going away, but it might not necessarily be dominating your opponent in space. And yeah, once it has all three of them on there, it is very powerful, but it still takes time and a lot of force to get all of those pieces into place. So that's something that I would not have a problem with. Same with like if Vader and Tarkin are out of sight, and Vader has his lightsaber, that's pretty much going to wreck whoever they're fighting. But you still have to have 3 different cards in play there to make that happen.
Okay. Okay. I have not seen you use the Vader Tarkin combo ever. Maybe you have. I've never seen you kind of do that before. Is that just another thing? It's like
Yeah.
it's too easy in your mind, and you want to try to win with
Uh,
something more difficulty, more esoteric.
yeah, well, it's not so much that I'm intentionally avoiding it as I tend not to really make decks based around mains that much.
Yeah,
Usually, when I have mains, they tend to be support characters anyway, to try to just keep me alive for whatever I actually want to accomplish.
I got you. Yeah, I've had some fun. Like I've tried a few decks where I've tried to make Tarkin the main character. I've had fun with that. Like give him a cape and try to give him
Yeah.
a lightsaber and, try to give, his, like, Mahdi or Taji with them to have destiny bonuses. I've had fun doing things like
Yeah.
that personally, a little bit, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that would be fun to try.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
haven't really done that, but I can add that to my list of things to get to eventually.
yeah. You might enjoy it. Yeah, try making a character that's not the main character of the main character. I've enjoyed that because you have things like Obi-Wan's cape and Luke's cape. I think you used it one of those a couple times. You
Yeah.
know, like, yeah, try to see if you can make like a rando like live a super long time, like longer than they should normally, something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I did make a deck once with General Tag as the main villain, and then like 20 random stormtroopers to give him like a huge forfeit bonus.
nice, nice. You still have it, or you don't, or you don't have it anymore?
Yeah, it's probably up here, but it was one of the earlier ones I did, so I don't know how good it is. I'll take a look at it right now. My deck style has evolved a little bit over time. Like I was hesitant to use objectives when I first started because I thought that they would make things too rigid and there wouldn't be much room for experimentation. But I found that if you just use it as a jumping off point, then that's fine. So I usually include objectives now.
Kaji, you're it. Oh man, this
Let's
is hilarious. I love
see.
this. And you promote him too. That's awesome. Field promotion. That's awesome.
Yep.
Love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's got Lone Warrior, so if he's by himself, then he gets 2 Battle Destiny right away. Okay, I changed it up so it's not just him and a bunch of randos anymore. It's more focused on him getting his promotion and then getting a bunch of battle destinies. So
Yeah, yeah. It gives
sometimes I'll
someone
take the
balancing.
basic.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll start with an idea for a deck and then decide to take it in a different direction later. So that's what happened with this one.
Yeah. It's still cool. Still cool. I still like it. And you have a Veers too, so you can use Veers for the same thing. So I like that.
Yeah.
That's cool. So what do you feel about Scavenger? Because like some people, I've interviewed them like
Mhm.
MGB for Scavenger, and they like it because you don't have rares at all, right? So there's like no mains at
Yeah.
all. I saw a couple Scavenger decks kind of listed there.
Mhm.
You played a little bit, or you still don't love it, or what do you think about that format?
Yeah. So I have played a few times, and I do enjoy that it's not the same decks that I'm used to facing. I unfortunately there is the downside to it of lots of cards that I would enjoy using, just obscure ones that happen to be rare, are banned from the format because of the format structure.
Right.
So, and because Star Wars cards don't have the rarity on them, and I don't really have rarities memorized, then it makes it hard for me to remember what cards are not going to be part of the format.
True. True. I do appreciate Magic the Gathering's innovation of making the kind of the rare cards gold and uncommon silver and the regular ones common. So yeah, Star Wars does not have that. So
Yeah,
you're right. You'd have to memorize, or you'd have to
yeah,
just use deck builder a lot. That's true.
yeah. But I do enjoy, from the times I have done it, being able to use little known, non unique aliens like Weequay on skiffs. That was one that I had fun with.
That's cool. Um, And I guess like for you the enjoyment, a lot of it is just trying out new decks and seeing them in play. Even if they don't necessarily win, if they do, awesome. But
Mm-hmm.
is that you kind of like, is it for you like you just like the creative outlet of like being able to make decks, obscure ways and trying them out, or like what's the
Yeah,
fun for you?
yeah. So I'm very much a creative minded person. And for me, most of the fun is um, coming up with something that I haven't seen before. So I'm not going into most games expecting to win, and I don't really mind if I lose as long as it's not wildly one sided. But um, yeah, I would say I enjoy building decks more than playing, honestly. And that goes for Lord of the Rings as well. It's just finding something new to try is the main focus for me.
Okay, no, I get you, and that makes sense. And I wanted to thank you for the games we've had, and you let me try things out, and I appreciate it. I know I probably used some strategies you didn't like, but you were a sport about it every time. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And you did beat me like a couple times. A couple times
A couple times, yeah.
I kind of made some bad plays and was not necessarily using the most optimal deck either. So I appreciate it. It was fun.
Mm. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's always a fun time playing with you. You're definitely one of the more, well, I wouldn't say one of the more polite because everyone I play against is polite, but still, it's always a fun time.
I agree. Cool. Well, you showed us some decks. You went kind of some history. Any final thoughts for anyone watching about emulating your style or anything about that, or if they're going to play you, kind of what they can do to make it the most fun, kind of between the two of you.
Yeah, I just love seeing something new. So if you're going to play against me, I would hope to see some characters who aren't mains. Again, I don't mind mains being there, but when it's the same characters every game, then it starts to feel repetitive. And yeah, I just encourage other people to think about using cards in ways that they haven't before, or look at cards that they never use and think about a way that they could possibly incorporate them into something they're doing.
Okay, cool. Well, awesome, Ponda. I appreciate the time, and I think people will really like this meeting we had, and can't wait to share.
All right, great. Well, thank you for having me.
Awesome, sir. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Have a good night.
You too.